Good morning. It's Dr. Kate Walker. It's October the 8th, and we're all about leveling up this month in October. So I think first what I need to do is explain exactly what level up is, right? What is a level? Well, commonly in developmental models, you'll see something like level 1 is a beginner, right? And we kind of all know that. Level 2, we tend to conceptualize as kind of the teenager phase. There's a push-pull, there's I want to do it my way, I really don't want to listen to other people. So I'm a supervisor, and it's not that our supervisees aren't listening to us, it's they're fighting for autonomy. And it's a great phase, but there can be some conflict. Level 3 is when your supervisees are ready to become your colleagues, or you guys out there are ready to mentor other people. And so today, or not just today, the whole month of October is about leveling up. As a level 1, you're a newbie. Now, what does that mean? Anybody can be a level 1. Anybody that starts something new is a level 1. So even though you've graduated with your master's degree in counseling and you've passed your licensing exam, you're still a newbie. If you're a brand new supervisor and you just finished your 40-hour training and you got your first supervisee, guess what? You're a newbie. So level 1s, everybody gets to be level 1. It's like when my kids were little and like somebody was complaining because somebody got me to cut up their meat, or I fixed their favorite food instead of making them eat the thing I'd fixed for dinner. Everybody gets to be 8 years old, right? Everybody gets to be 16. We just can't all be 16 at the same time. At least that's what I told my kids, because that would have blown my mind. So let me do my check. You guys make sure and let me know if you cannot see or hear me. Hopefully that's happening. And give me 2 seconds, just double checking. Trying to get my microphone in the right place so that I'm not getting too much echo. Awesome. All right, we're here. So let's talk about, first things first, the commercials, right? I love the free stuff, but it's the commercials for the stuff that costs money, that pays the bills. As you know, I offer the 40-hour training to become an LPC and LMFT supervisor in Texas. I offer one of the very first and only completely online 40-hour trainings in Texas. It's awesome. Check it out. Go to katewalkertraining.com. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. And we have, so if you are a supervisor, you remember the rules. If you're a supervisor, as soon as this thing's over, you go over to Texas Supervisor Training Facebook group. But you know what? A lot of people aren't on Facebook, and that's okay. So let folks know that our consultation groups are held monthly. This month, October 26th, we are going to have superstar Janie Stubblefield. Janie Stubblefield is an LPC supervisor, and she is also on the LPC licensing board. And she is going to talk to us about common mistakes that she sees with supervising supervisees, common complaints. She's going to talk to us a little bit about ethics. It's really going to help tie in what we learned with our first speaker, Kenda Dalrymple, to the actual productive nuts and bolts of being a supervisor. That's happening October 26th. Y'all, it's only $25. So if you're a supervisor or you know a supervisor and they are not in this virtual group, it's Monday mornings, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I know it's early, but you know what? You got coffee, so you're fine. We also have another Badass Business Meeting. The Badass Business Meeting is for members of the Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses Facebook group, of course. But if you are also a member of my Badass Business Builder member, gosh, that's a lot. You get to do it for free. It's $50. You get 2 CEs. It's happening this month, October the 30th. October the 30th. It's on a Friday. It's 2 hours, 2 CEs, ethics, and it's all about business. I'll be there. It's a Zoom call. Ask me questions, and we can get your business ship-shape going. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so look for a YouTube video coming soon. It's going to have lots of resources that are vetted and that you can donate to. I'm offering a free, I'm to the free stuff now. So tomorrow, I'm offering a free room in this group. in our little group here, Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses. If you are just wondering about becoming a supervisor, you have questions, show up in the room. I would love it if some existing supervisor trainers show up in the room. We can answer your questions about what are your next steps if you're ready to level up and become a supervisor. That's tomorrow morning. Check this group. The link should be over here on the side. In fact, I can see it. It looks like it's going to, yeah, it starts tomorrow. Also, I am offering the Professional Growth Conference, Texas Counseling Association Professional Growth Conference. I will be offering a refresher course for supervisors. So sign up for Power Up, the TCA Professional Growth Conference in November. My course will be offered November 10th, but the amazing, fabulous Cindy Doyle and I will also be offering a presentation there about building your brand, making your business more badass, and I'll post information about that as well. All right, so we had some badasses join, and if you are one of those, thank you so much for joining. It's like amazing how many people. I think we had 15 people this week. And of course I clicked the wrong button, because that's what I do. I click wrong buttons. Remember, we're having the coffee drinking game. Every time Kate has to look at, here we go. I'm not going to, there, that's the button. All right, look at these folks here to badass up their businesses. We've got Jen Smith, Catherine Elizabeth, Portia Royal, Hilaria Arai, Rosalind Guillory, Craig Alsop, Bessie Ann Christensen, Pam Cosart, Mirto Alampano, Sarah Balconley, Amanda Edwards, Eagles, Refuge Counseling Services PLLC, Positive Perspectives, Nanda Hav, Dina Faulkner Hutton. Now, let's get to work. Welcome, folks. I'm so glad you're here. All right, let's talk about your questions. When I started this group, I guess it's been a year ago, it really began because I get asked lots of questions, and it could be at a conference, somebody sees me, it could be that I'm doing supervision training. People are always in that new phase of business. Now, you may be watching this and you've got a practice and you're doing pretty well, but you're thinking about adding something, or you're thinking about getting a certification, or you're thinking about adding supervision. That puts you right back down to level one. Now, here's the thing about level one that I've learned. It's time consuming and it's expensive. You're gonna make mistakes, but it's worth it. It's just like any other growth opportunity. You're gonna make mistakes. So groups like this, it's full. I think we're up to almost 900 people in this group who can help you and mentor you. And you can reach out to people. You can ask them to have coffee with you. You can ask them to show you the ropes, how they did. We've got people in here who have added supervision. We have people in here who have added yoga. We have people in here who are lawyers and counselors. We have people in here who are pastors and counselors. We have people in here doing coaching and counseling, graphic design and counseling, instructors, CEs. We've got university professors and counselors. So it's okay if you're just doing counseling, right? This isn't to pressure you or shame you into adding another stream of income to your practice, but this is to help those of you who are thinking about adding something new, the when, the how, making sure you're doing it right. And so I thought the easiest way to do today's Thursday 30 would be to answer your literal questions, things that I've been asked. And so I'm also looking over here in the thread. If you have a question, somehow Facebook did its magic and I'm actually able to see your comments over here. So if you have questions, post them in the thread. If you want me to review your website, if you want me to just pick through it, find one thing I love, one thing I want you to fix, and then one more thing that I love. I like the little sandwich technique, right? Please post your website in the thread. I'm happy to go take a look at it. So let me make sure, did I do all of my commercials? Yes. I did my shout outs. All right. Question number one that I get all the time. How do you know when to add something new or a new stream of income to your practice? Okay. If you know me, the best way to know when it's time to add something new is to look and backwards plan from your big goal, right? What is your goal? If I was to look at your vision board today, I would see where you want to live, what you want to drive, how you want to retire, who you want in your life, how big is your Thanksgiving table, how big is your second home, how much money do you want to have on a weekly basis once you get on a fixed income. Remember, in this group, we're very real. You have to keep two things in mind. Your working years above ground and your disabled years above ground. Those things are facts. That's what happens to us. We reach a point where we can no longer work and we are dependent on other people. We're either going to plan for that or we're not. That's just the long and short of it. So when you look at your plan and you see your vision board and you say, you know what, this is what I want, this is where I want to be, then there should be a dollar amount attached to that. So always when you're thinking about adding a stream of income or adding something new or starting your practice, you always start with the vision board. Now, Stephanie says she's interested in coaching and counseling. Someone told me we can't legally do both in Texas. I find that hard to believe. Yeah, me too, right? Because Texas is pretty much like, hey, you can kind of do what you want in business as long as it's not illegal, right? So unless you're doing something illegal, you can create a business out of it. So what we're talking about here, though, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, when you're adding a niche, I call it a niche, when you have a niche, or you're trying to combine two things that are similar. All right, so Stephanie, I'm definitely going to talk about that in just a second. So when you're thinking about your working years above ground and your disabled years above ground, that's a dollar amount, right? If you need $10K a month to pay your bills and you want to put an extra $2K in a retirement account, that means you need to net $12,000 a month, right? However that works, if you have a supportive partner, if you have a inheritance somewhere, if you have some amazing investments, or you're just going to work your little butt off and you're going to make that much money, awesome, good on you, right? Now, if you're trying to add another stream of income, though, one of the things I learned, I got a great piece of advice once. I bought somebody coffee and I asked them this question: how do you know? How do you know when it's time to add a new stream of business? And this person owned like 10 tanning bed places. I told you I like to have coffee with people who have businesses besides counseling, right? And he said, you know, I open up another shop when one reaches $10,000 net a month. So you think net, all right, that means after you pay your office manager, after you pay off your tanning bed, after you paid your office lease. Once his business made $10,000, then he moved on and opened a new one. So that could be something to think about as well. If you have an ideal net amount, or if you just, 10,000 sounds like a nice round number. Once you are netting $10,000 a month on a regular basis from your counseling, your client load, and you think, okay, now I can add my new business, I can add supervision, I can add this, I can add coaching, I can add something different. And just be sure that's going to be your litmus test, right? That's going to be your barometer. You're going to make sure that the first business, it maintains $10,000 a month, right? As you're building your other business and it's $1,000 net, $2,000 net, $5,000 net, if this one starts to slip over here to 8 or 5, no, you don't want that, right? You don't want to, like, I don't want to use a farming mentality, right? You don't want to kill one cow when you're trying to milk the other one, right? I know that's kind of gross, but I've been watching Vikings and everything on that show is pretty gory. But think about it that way. Once your first business is making 10K, then yeah, go ahead and open your next one. All right. A mistake. People add things because they can. Even if they didn't do the market research or they didn't get the training. So that's another piece too. It sounds cool. You see someone else doing it and you think, oh gosh, maybe I can do that too. So that gets me to my next part. Do I have to have a niche or a niche to be successful? My answer is that depends. That depends. So a couple of things. Generally, if you take insurance, you don't also need to develop a niche. Now, that's not a blanket statement. Of course, somebody could post in the thread, hey, I have a niche, and that's great. That's awesome. But remember who your customer is. Your customer is in a state of anxiety. When anxiety goes up, cognition goes down. They are looking for key phrases. just like Google does, right? So often your license is your niche. I think I've shared with you guys before, I'm an LMFT, and I was so surprised when couples came into my office. And then one day I looked at my license and I'm like, oh, it's got the word marriage in that. So for my clients, that was a niche, right? I was seeing marriages. I am an LPC as well. LPC, LMFT, that advertised that I was also a marriage specialist, okay? So that can be part of what you do too. So adding something, and as Stephanie was talking about earlier, adding coaching, that now is communicating something to your clients, right? It's communicating, and they have an expectation. So you're communicating what you will deliver. They're receiving and forming expectations based on that. So if you live somewhere, and this is the other thing I say, if you're going to add a niche, or if you're going to change to cash basis, then a niche can be helpful. It can make you stand out from the crowd. It can help you charge a little bit more. But look around your town. Look at the place where you're going to practice. Yes, I know we're all virtual now, so it's like the Wild West. But look around. I usually say if you can find a pediodontist and a pet groomer, you're in a good place to add a niche, a cash-based niche to your practice, right? Because those are sub-niches of dentistry, right? I treat only children. Or I'm not a vet, I'm a pet groomer, so it's a niche. Or maybe you're an all-natural pet groomer. So start looking for those businesses in your town. And if your town can support niche businesses, then you might have a great way, it might be a great place to start your niche. Just make sure, that's called market research, by the way. You do the market research and you get the training. Do I have to have a niche to be successful though? Let's go back to that question. It just depends, right? If you are wanting to be cash only, if you are wanting to stand out from the crowd, it can be helpful. Just remember, go back and look at my other YouTube videos. There is a lot of work that goes into marketing, all right? You have to be willing to market your niche and spend some time communicating who you are. Which brings me to, I want to add coaching, right? This is a question like Stephanie asks, I want to add coaching, or I want to add yoga. I want to add something that's non-counseling to my practice. I get that a lot. So let's say you've done the market research and you figured out your community can support your niche, this new thing that you're going to do, right? And then you looked and you made sure it aligned with your vision board. It's going to, your counseling practice is making 10K a month. So you're like, okay, I'm ready to add something new. Here's where you can have some liability. You are constantly advertising, and how you do that is with your license, right? So when you have a license, you have to remember that everything else you add to that is going to fall under that license. So whether you have an MBA or you have a coaching or a yoga certification, that's going to fall under your license. Your license is there to protect the public, and it restricts those who do not hold the license from using things like the counseling name, doing counseling, doing anything in our scope of practice. So it's a privilege having this license. So what we talk about is this idea of clarifying your counselor identity and building a brand. All right, clarifying your counselor identity and building a brand. So think in terms of this way. Your customer on the other end of your advertisement is wondering, what am I getting? What am I getting here? What is coaching? I had a neighbor that got coaching. I want to know what I'm getting. Well, they're going to look at your advertising and they're going to see all these letters after your name, right? And one of those sets of letters, LPC, is going to protect them, right? Your certifications will not. A certification just says you can do something. It says you got some training and you are able to do something, but it doesn't restrict others from doing that who have not had the training, right? So if someone has not had coaching training, they can still call themselves a coach. There's nothing prohibiting them from doing so. It's not ethical, but they can do that, right? But your license is going to hold you to certain standards of paperwork, confidentiality, scope of practice, what you can do, what you cannot do. So it's not like we can take off our hat and our counseling hat and then go do this. And so in this group, there are some amazing businesses that incorporate yoga that incorporate coaching, that incorporate even, you know, I've seen some great advertisements for web design and graphic design and SEO optimization. So there are, of course, you can do this, right? And Stephanie, okay, good. I see you're an LMFT and an LPC. So you've got 2 licenses that are kind of keeping you there, right? So when you add coaching, make sure what you're communicating is your counselor identity and coaching, right? So you've got your counselor identity. This is who you are. And when you think about, okay, Kate, so what does that mean? My counseling identity sounds kind of woo-woo, right? No, this is your 10-minute consultation spiel, and this is your elevator speech. If someone had to say, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? I'm a counselor. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and after I get to know you, I'm going to give you some directions we can take. Once you do some homework, we're going to course correct, and by the time you see me for a few sessions, you're going to have tools to navigate conflict, cope with stress, and you will know if working with me is going to be a good fit, and we will work together to set goals so that you feel better. Right? So if you don't know the nuts and bolts of who you are as a counselor, right? That counselor, clear counseling identity, it's going to be tough to add something else, right? Because that's going to pull you into that identity. And it's fine. It really is. It's okay. There's nothing illegal about that. What becomes a liability, though, is that advertising piece. Because remember, what you're advertising isn't always what your customer receives, right? So we call it matching expectations, right? And complaints happen when the customer feels like they didn't get what they expected to get. There's a mismatched expectation. So when you're delivering your message as a counselor coach, or a counselor yoga instructor, or a counselor, SEO optimizer, remember, you're going to communicate to your client how you help and how your identity as a counselor is going to enhance what you're helping them with, right? So if you are truly a level 1 and you're a master's level student or a new graduate and you're listening to me talk about all this, I hope you're thinking to yourself, wow, I should probably just do my counseling thing first. That's a great idea. Get your counseling thing done. Add the training. You want to be EMDR? Go for it. You want to be a specialist with infidelity? Do it. If you want to be a strategic family therapist, amazing solution-focused stuff going on, great trainings. Get those additional trainings, but make sure that you're clarifying your counselor identity, this idea of how you communicate who you are, what you do, and how you help. Then when you add these things to it, and Brandy, I'm looking, she just said good morning. I know that Brandy has incorporated yoga. I know we have Jules Parkin in the business group who's added yoga. Jean Dixon has added yoga. So, and Julia Aero added coaching. So we have a lot of folks in the Badass Business group who have added other things to their counseling career. And that's wonderful because I think we all get bored after a while. I didn't really mention that because it doesn't have to do with your working years above ground and your disabled years above ground. And I'm trying to keep everybody super practical and safe. But yeah, we get bored, right? So if you have just one thing, one takeaway from this conversation, think, okay, when my first business is going on 10 grand a month, 10K net, that's after you pay your rent, after you pay your office staff, after you put the money into your retirement account, you have 10K, then yeah, add something new, build it up, make sure you have the time, make sure that you have the expertise, make sure you have the training. Great questions. I'm running out of time. I'm looking into the thread here. Stephanie, I hope I answered your question. Any other questions? Go ahead and throw them into the thread. I'm going to go here in a minute because I've got to go eat breakfast and drink more coffee because I got a lot I got to do today with Texas Supervisor Training, our supervisor consultation group. Don't forget tomorrow morning, if you want to just ask any number of questions about supervision, I'll be there. I'll be there as long as you're there. The Badass Business Group, the Badass Business Meeting, $50, 2 CEs. If you have any questions, put them in the thread. If you want me to go over your website and give you some pointers, tell you some things I love, some things I don't love so much, put it in the thread. All right, I think that's it. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'm going to end the live video. This is Dr. Kate Walker with your Badass Business Builder Thursday 30.